So we've just recently seen the launch of the new Ping i525 iron, a hollow construction, a very fierce category I think in the iron department. So I'm going to put that up against the big hitter in that department, the new Mizuno Pro 225. Both hollow constructions, very similar lofts. I've got them the same makeup. We're going to test them head to head in this particular video. Okay, so we're going to kick things off straight away with the i525. As I mentioned, recently done a review video. I'll pop a little link, you can go and check that out. I really quite liked it. I mean, it's a typical Ping iron, and maybe Ping aren't very renowned for that sort of forged header. They did bring out the answer irons, which were fully forged. They're very, very expensive at the time, and then they've sort of gone away from. Now you have got that word forged printed on the back, which I think is a little bit misleading because it's a forged face only. But anyway, let's hit some shots with the Ping. Let's collect some data, and then we'll just do a little comparison up against that 225 from Mizuno. Okay, that's a nice strike to kick things off. Nice high ball flight. Now, as I maybe mentioned in my review video, you know, it's a typical sort of Ping iron. I think it's a really nice sort of shape, and I thought it was a good improvement over the i500 shape in the head. I like the way it had a little offset there. Very much that player's sort of look. But again, I think when you associate a player's look with a Ping iron, they don't align up, do they? Ping are very renowned for that sort of big cavity back game improvement sort of iron more than anything else. Having said that, they have brought blueprints out, which are incredibly small, beautiful looking golf clubs, obviously very, very small. So they're starting to make nicer shaped head nowadays. And do you know what? I like the feel off that iron. Again, I'm talking in comparison to other Ping irons. You know, it's never going to be the softest of irons because it's not a fully forged head. It's a hollow construction. Typically, hollow constructions would tend to see a little bit more of a clickier, slightly louder sound to it, as opposed to maybe like a true sort of bladed iron. But I'll tell you what, they are really three nice golf shots. Yes, it's a little bit louder. Probably prefer to be a little bit more of a softer sort of sound. Again, it's very personal, that, isn't it? Lots of tech happening. You know, it's a player's distance iron. That's exactly what Ping are branding this as. Player's look, a desirable look. You know, you've got the word forged in there. We know all about that. It may be not true in terms of fully forged body, but it's a really good look in that playing position, yet it's got that power. You can see the spin number's obviously going to be a little bit lower because of the loft. This is coming in at 30.5 degrees of loft, so it's definitely in that P790 category, Mizuno Pro 225, you know, those sort of areas, which is, I think, is a very popular sort of iron category. Oh, a little bit heavy, but that's come up and away nicely. Spin might just drop off a little bit on that one. Yeah, that's just pulling that little bit of spin off there, just that slight bit of connection. So I think really, you know, if you're moving away from that, maybe that G425 iron, and you want to make a progression in your irons, this is definitely probably the next step you'd be looking into, is the i525. Need to look more compact, less offset, a bit more desirable, maybe as your skill levels are improving as you move out of that game improvement iron, but you've still got that big element of forgiveness in this club, as well as a little bit of power. And I think that's a really nice sort of transition as you would come out of that game improvement iron. I think for a Ping sort of fan, I think this is a really nice progression. And they're sort of five pretty nice, decent golf shots, to be honest. Look to be very consistent. Okay, let's switch into the Mizuno. Right, okay, so Mizuno Pro 225, hollow constructions. So let's just do a straight comparison between these two irons in that playing sort of position. And when I sit these two irons side by side, what differences am I seeing? A fraction longer looks like on that blade length with the Ping, a tiny bit. Looks to be a little bit deeper from the sole up to that top edge in comparison to the Mizuno. I think toe section looks very similar. Maybe just the Ping being a little bit more squared off at the top of the toe, where a bit more rounded in the Mizuno. Top leading edge looks very similar, sort of that medium top edge. It's not mega thing. Offset wise, let's just have a look at that against that. Very similar. Maybe, yeah, very similar. I was just going to say maybe a little bit more on the Mizuno against the Ping, but literally marginal. Let's look at the back of the golf club. I know the back of the golf club isn't as important to the way the golf club performs. It's a bit more bag appeal, isn't it? I mean, obviously the Mizuno just looks great, doesn't it? Just very sleek, very minimalistic there, just a little logo in there, Mizuno Pro logo in, 225, that is it. Obviously the ping, I like the ping, again it's a really nice sort of satin finish, just that little bit of detail in there. The word forged, we talked about that, it's a little bit misleading for me, but I think two good irons, but I think the Mizuno obviously just has that little bit of ooze of quality in a way, that look. So loft-wise on this 7.9 in the 225 is 30 degrees, so it is half a degree stronger in the loft in comparison to that ping. But very, very similar sort of window that came out, and that height looked to be very, very similar. That's quite a nice strike to kick things off, a little bit up that right-hand side with that particular shot. Okay, that wasn't a perfect strike, but it's flown very nicely. A little bit low in the face, yeah, just a tiny bit. Okay, just up that left fraction. Great shape behind that golf ball, really good, classy look, I think, with the Mizuno. It's a nice shot. Again, nice high towering flight, as you're going to expect. Even though these stronger lofts, obviously the way they move that weighting around the head, you know, that centre of gravity really gets that ball launching sort of nice and high. You can see that spin, obviously just in that slight low bracket, again with that 30 degree sort of mark, maybe just squeezing a little bit more ball speed, looking at it straight off the mark, but we'll obviously look at the numbers a little bit more detail in a bit. Oh, that's a good strike, just a little bit of left to right on that. It was a really good strike. So let's talk, obviously the big talking point here is the feel and the differences of the feel. Is there a difference? And yes, there certainly is. Obviously the Mizuno, it feels amazing. We've seen this before. Obviously if I'm comparing this 225 against the 221, the pure blade, obviously this is a little bit louder on that sound in comparison. Not quite as buttery as feel as you would expect in that one piece of metal. With the hollow construction, we always tend to see that little bit more of a louder click to it, but it feels amazing. It's a really good feel. Comparison to the ping, it is much better. It's a different level of sound and a little bit of a different level of feel. As I say, with the ping, I'm comparing that against, let's say, the G425. Maybe for me, the i500 a little bit was, I think, was a little bit loud. Obviously, they've done some internal sort of put material in there to try and dampen sound, and I think they've done a good job, but again it's a typical ping iron, just that little bit more clickier in comparison. It's a good strike again, really nice flight, lovely feel to that. It's just a bit more of that more muted sound in comparison to that ping. Yeah, some nice numbers there, and again very nice. Okay, right, there's some shots hits. Let's go and check a couple of numbers out, and I want to know from you, which would you be choosing out, that Mizuno or the ping? Okay, so number time, see 91 of club head speed ping, just a fraction quicker there with the Mizuno. A little bit more ball speed, probably just through that little bit more of club head speed, so very, very similar between the two, launching exactly the same. Spin just a fraction lower with the Mizuno there, probably just that fraction less loft, possibly a little bit, obviously subject to my strike a tiny bit as well. And you can see carry distance very, very similar. Height exactly the same, land angle pretty much identical. So two very similar set of numbers, but for me two very different looks and two very different feels. As I mentioned, it's always personal, isn't it? You post comments down below, Mizuno or ping, what is your choice and the reasons why. I love to hear your thoughts as always. I think it's a good iron from ping, I think it's a cracking iron from Mizuno. Hopefully we'll catch you all very soon.